All righty. Good evening. Today it is Monday, April 14th. I have here with me Mr. Reginald, um, someone I hold near and dear to me, that's here with me on my podcast today to have our discussion. Of course, it's just you and I, but conversations I know is going to be deep. Topic
Good.
is I'm only man. What more do you want from me? And of course, it's just is coming from general knowledge of what you know men commonly feel and experience. But before we go into that, I do want to give Mr. Reginald the opportunity to introduce himself, which you've seen him before on podcasts, but I'm pretty sure there may be some new viewers that may not know who he is. So, Mr. Reginald.
Yes. Hello. Great to be here with you always. My name is Reginald Wilson Jr. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, psychotherapist. Been in the field for I don't know a long time now, um, and I'm so happy to be here to talk about things like this because we're all whole people that spiritually, emotionally, mentally, physically, and all of those boxes need to be checked in order for us to be as healthy as possible. So I am happy to be here.
Got it. Definitely a pleasure to have you here. Um, and then we had Mr. Fields to come on. Thank you, Mr. Fields, for your presence. We were just going through introductions. Do you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, Damon Fields, good friend of yours. Thank you for welcoming to the podcast. Sorry for the tardiness.
Oh, you're totally fine. Your presence is more welcome than tardiness. So thank you for coming. So I was just expressing to Mr. Reginald that my topic today, of course, which is I'm only man. What more do you want from me? And of course, like I was telling Mr. Reginald, this is just general conversation. Definitely want man's perspectives on things that men in general go through. And to make sure it's speaking from a place of what you see or notice that men commonly go through, not just specifically to you. We don't want anyone to generalize that there are problems and you're speaking from an individual place rather than from a general place. So I want my readers or my viewers to be mindful of that piece. So before I get started, I was sitting here thinking, I know I'm a woman, so my knowledge and insight can be quite limited in regards to male perspectives, feelings, experiences, but also take in consideration the stereotypes that people have in place in regards to what the expectation is for men and what they feel like as far as a societal perspective, as far as what they're or what they should be doing. And the only thing that kept playing in my mind over and over and over again is the amount of stress that you guys may feel in regards to these stereotypes. Am I right or wrong about that as far as the stress?
You're correct.
Very correct.
And so,
Um,
go ahead.
One of the biggest things is the way the perception of a black man is perceived in the public eye. In most spaces, we're not considered a safe space to per se to look at. When you look at our stature, our demeanor, we could be the most meek, mild person, but just our presence is it holds weight more than anything that we know about. But in essence, we just want to make people feel, welcome. We don't want to be standoffish to everybody, but to certain circles, you know, we want to kind of wave off and not have them in our space. But for the most part, we're more welcoming, more friendly than most people.
I would agree. I would agree. I think that we as men and particularly black men, we come across as one way, but the inside is totally different because we're always are in comparisons to uh, the people that came before us.
Hmm.
And a lot of the generations that came before us, no matter how old we are, they had to be a certain way to survive. And things get passed down and passed down and passed down, and the comparisons can be hard to overcome sometimes.
Yeah, I've thought about that too. And of course, me in my wise and mature phase sees things a lot differently than my young and vibrant phase of life in my 20s and 30s. But I think one thing, even as a woman, that I had to connect in regards to um, how society has things standard set up in regards to like how each man has or feels like they have to present themselves manhood wise. The one thing I thought about myself is every man comes from different environments, right? You know, you may come from a one
Mm-hmm.
parent home, you may come from a two parent home, you may have a mother that is raising and doing the best that she can. Um, and there may be things that she may not be able to teach you as a man, whereas another man may have uncles and, you know, fathers and cousins to sort of step in and bridge that gap. And even still, you may have a father in the home setting that still may not have a certain skill set because that's not how he was raised and
Mm-hmm.
brought up. So my mind went to pondering on, again, stress in regards to
Mm-hmm.
expectations. And why is it that women feel that is necessary that a man has to carry on the stereotype of being 100% full provider? Now, I get the fact of being head of household, and maybe you guys can shed some light on me today in this conversation. But the other part that sort of weighed on me heavily is why expectation that a man work himself to the grave, um, and that he gives every aspect of himself to provide, and that is, you know, food, shelter. You know, not saying that some women don't do that, but this is the stereotype that's in place.
Mm-hmm.
And not understand that every man is not at a level to feel that they can handle that stress. And if they don't carry that stress, then they're considered less, or they're not, you know. Have you guys, or are you aware of any circumstances like that where men have felt the pressures
Mm-hmm.
of having
It's
to
two,
perform? Go ahead.
but it's twofold with that. The first thing to give you a preface of why I say it's twofold, because if you look at our forefathers, you know, our relatives that came before us back then, yeah, Big Papa would go work and take care of the household, and Big Mama would go take care of what's going on at home. They were able to because cost of living was a little bit better, and then you just made do with what you could make do with. But with today's society, it takes two. But
Mhm.
with that being said, as a man, you still should strive to do the best and most you are capable to do. You don't want to just stand on one leg and just expect the woman to come and take the other, you know, because you feel like she there to do it. No, as a man, you're supposed to stand up and do as you were born to do, because it's instilled in you, you know, by God to lead. Now, it's not always monetarily that you lead, but you do your best you can monetarily to lead and hold down the household as much as possible. But with that being said, I feel like today brothers are working themselves to death to try and do that. You have some, not all, but you have some, but they are working themselves to death to try and do that. But with today's society, it just takes a whole lot more than just one. And if you are doing it alone, I commend them, you know, because I know what it's like, and it's not easy.
Yeah.
Great point. Great point. I totally agree. I also would like to add that, you know, a lot of, well, I don't know if it's a lot, but quite a few of us as a people were not raised by our fathers or the fathers in the home. So we've learned that in order for me to be a good man, in order for me to be better than him, I have to be different than him. That's a lot of stress and a lot of weight to put on my shoulders or someone's shoulders, because it sort of puts you in a mode of being a perfectionist. And I'm talking about the men that are actually doing their jobs out here. You know, it's the focal point is I'm not going to be like dad, I'm not going to do to a woman what dad did to mom. And we have to remember that even women, it's not just men that come from single parent homes, women do too.
That part.
So now they are expecting something different than what they got too. So now it's all this pressure and all this stress to actually be the good man that you always wanted to be, that your mom prayed for and didn't get. And that's tough. It really can be tough.
It is.
So if you guys have ever experienced that before, how did you guys manage through that piece? Like if that was something that you experienced, or even if not directly experienced, if you know someone else, that went through exactly, Reginald, what you just described, like how did they overcome that? Is that something that it was just trial and error, and sometimes they felt like they were just failing more than they were succeeding, but they kept pushing, that someone else, another brother, someone older, wiser, mature come up and guide them? Or was it just something they never got right? Because again, it happens sometimes, there's no guidance, no structure in place. Sometimes manhood can be just simply, you know, physically age, but mentally, I'm trying to figure out how to get there, to my actual physical age, of course, and that comes with the trauma piece. But talk to me about that piece a little bit.
I've witnessed one of my good friends. He was doing everything he could in the household, and it just seemed like that's all he was there for. There was a disconnect between him and his partner outside of him being able to take care of the bills. He just felt like he was only spoken to when there was something to deal with business, and it caused him to reevaluate why he was there, and he kind of stepped away. When he talked to me, I was like, this is not like you. This is not what I see from the outside when I look at y'all. He was like, it's totally different because I don't get the recognition. I'm not looking for recognition, but I don't get anything outside of being just a provider, and it took a toll on him. So now he kind of stepped away.
That's a sad place to be, because a lot of times in those cases, Mr. Fields, what you described right there, the lack of connection that's in place sometimes, and I'm not saying what his is because I don't know, because this story is first time heard, but a lot of times that people feel like they're getting that relief that they're looking for from the stress behind it, not only realizing that they're substituting one stressor for a greater one. And so now you're having to manage the pain of, what someone calls by the way that they treat or how they saw value in you, to now, this emptiness and void in place. Because a lot of times, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's not what men ultimately want. They want that, but of course it takes two. Did you see that his mental health declined even greater behind that decision, and that led to other factors in his life that he was trying to figure out how, life was supposed to go? Or did you find that he was a lot healthier after making that decision?
He was a lot healthier. The next time I seen him, he had more of an upbeat attitude. He had a lot more smiles. It weighed on him to even think about making that decision. But
Right.
after he made it, he was a different person. But he learned to still be who he needed to be as a father, and co-parent. But he just found himself to where he knew how to balance in between being there and not being there.
Yeah. Who do you think, Mr. Reginald?
I would say that what comes to mind is I've done a lot of with my profession, a lot of marriage counseling, couples counseling, and one thing that I have realized through that and in my personal life is that it also helps if your partner, you know, if that woman lets you know, lets the man know that, hey, you're not your dad, you know, because oftentimes, like I said, we wrestle with that person in the mirror, and that's who we see. And it's a lot of stress that comes with that. And you can either fight through the stress or you can run from it. And, you know, sad to say that a lot have ran from it. But if we realize that we have been better men since we were boys compared to some of our fathers, just a fact. And that you already have within you what it takes to be the man that you need to be the man that she needs you to be the man that the children needs to be. But we're a team, so like
That's
if
right.
only one person is believing that, and the other person is seeing something that, you know, is reminiscent of what your mom might have seen, and you know you're not dad, but your love of your life is treating you like you are, that's the issue.
Right.
Like so working together
Mm-hmm.
Is what's needed too. Like let me know, because I might struggle with I don't this is what he did, or I don't want to be like no, Reggie, you're not him. You're
Right.
not him. So
Can't live in
let's
that shadow.
yeah, let's put that down. Let's deal with that, and then we can deal with us, because oftentimes we're still fighting that person in the mirror. We're still fighting our last name.
That's
Yep.
powerful because that's something that I don't even think I've connected to, like the fear of repeating the same cycle, you know, um,
Right.
of your father. And of course, that can, you know, transfer off into your relationships, not only with your partner, but not only with your
Mm-hmm.
partner, but your kids as well.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You know, this takes me back to a phrase that was coined a lot when I was growing up, that I hear women say, not you know, discredit them on how they felt or what they were saying was, they would say, "You look just like your daddy," or "You act just like your daddy." And
Yeah.
sometimes that would be, it would be degrading, or you know, kind of be downing on the kid, because maybe he want to be who he want to be. He want to be who he is in his own way.
Yes. And not only that, Mr. Damon, but when that was said, it was something negative. You
Right,
know what I mean?
exactly. It was a negative connotation
Right.
to it.
Yeah. If you were getting in trouble in school, you just like your daddy. If you was
Hmm.
had a bad temper or stomped out the room, you just like your daddy. If you
Hmm.
it's yeah, you're right.
Have a couple girls call the house. He'd be like, "Oh, you Jack, just like your dad," something like
Yep.
that.
Just like that.
And not realizing sometimes, like hearing the mom and maybe some of the negative comments that she said about the dad, now that you've shaped him to feel like, you know, he's repeating the same pattern, especially if the child has heard a strong dislike in regard
Correct.
to the father's actions. You know, kids tend to think or feel like, you know, is that how you feel about me as well, since I've repeated the same pattern that my father has.
Yeah, that's correct. One
Yeah.
hundred percent correct. And we gotta get out of this, putting our past um, aggressions on our kids.
Mm,
You know, and that's a big thing in that, as a man. You don't want to put that or pass that on to your sons or your daughters. You know, you want your kids to be better than you, so you want to be more uplifting than having negative comments around them. Yeah, we may have disagreements in front of our kids, or have something to say negative, but we should try and keep that to a minimum, because it does have an effect on them.
It does. And I think a lot of that comes from a lot of people don't realize, people feel like, oh, because I'm a certain age, I may be 40, 50 years old, but mentally you may be still in that wounded inner child that may be in you that you're parenting. Imagine parenting a child from the same place that you are mentally from. So if your traumas are age 16, but you're parenting your kid with that same mindset of age
Hmm.
16, you can only imagine what type of trauma and pain that you're causing this particular kid. And a lot
So
mm-hmm.
of
true.
realize that. That's why I say therapy is vital, especially more so with the African American population, because there are things that we have 4 and 5 generations of patterns of behavior that, you know, has been passed down, things that we didn't necessarily ask for. But of course, you have your 3-time great grandmother, and then now she's raised her kids, and that kid is, you can't tell me that some pattern of negative behaviors in regards to mood or, you know, coping has been passed down. And then you're trying to raise a man, or in this particular case, we're talking about men, but let's just say women too, to be a better version of what you were, what their father was. And unfortunately, you know, a lot of times that pattern just continues to water down more and more because there's nothing in to stop that.
True.
I was thinking about this too, because you guys definitely talk about the relationship dynamics between, you know, what's passed on to the kids. What about those silent battles? I know sometimes the father not been present in the home setting is one silent battle. And I know men are not very sometimes open to the talk. And of course that, you know, it comes with reason, because of course, even as a woman, I've seen how women downplay a man's mental health and not taking that into consideration, but then still expecting a man to be the best version of himself that he possibly can be. Can we talk about silent battles for a little bit that men face that keeps them from becoming, you know, who they possibly could be? Not saying that they're not great already, but, you know, realistically, when you take away from someone, there's another level that could be manifested, but is removed because of that piece. Yeah, so let's talk about silent battles for a little.
Well, you look at from a mental standpoint, you're always wondering, am I enough? And when you do that, you always second guessing, or you're trying to overexert yourself in things to overcompensate for what you think you lacked or thought you were lacking doing. And what happens is a lot of times you think you're doing something, but you're really just spinning your wheels instead of just taking a moment, thinking about what you got going on, what's affecting your mental aspect of your health, and then you're just getting it to a space where you're not getting to where you thought you would be because you're overthinking everything.
So in other words, that they created a pattern of anxiety for men just off of their interactions.
Exactly.
Excuse me. Also, the blame game that a lot of us men we go through, as far as, is it quote unquote manly to blame someone who rightfully deserves the blame, or do I as a man just eat it? And when that happens, it's we carry weight that's not ours to carry in the first place.
Right.
What happened to us as boys is not our fault. It's our parents' fault. But I'm so much of a man that I can't blame mom. She was there forever. I can't blame dad because I'm not like these other dudes that blame their daddy for not being there, whatever. I'm 40. Well, you're still his son. You being 40 doesn't change that. We have to be okay as men to lay blame at the feet of who it deserves to be laid at, and stop carrying the weight that we didn't eat to have. Like I'm not. It's almost like carrying luggage through the airport. Like you're carrying all this baggage, and only 90%. Only 10% of it is yours. Like we have to put some of that down. But as men, we think we're supposed to carry everything. Because if I complain too much, I'm looking soft.
That's right.
So how do we change that? Because, you know, as a man, you know what you feel emotionally. And as a woman, I feel that I can't take the weight of what Reginald is able to carry and make that parallel to what Damon is able to carry or the next male is able to carry. but yet and still that seems to be something that's pushed off in regards to like even emotional aspect. I mean, one part of it is woman that does play a role in that, but do you feel like even male to male counterparts sort of add to that weight as well?
Oh, most definitely. It's called bravado, machoism.
Mm-hmm.
But what we must do is lower our ego,
Mm-hmm.
because our ego will get in a place that we can't get out of.
Right.
It get us in the mental place that we can't back out of. Because if we go down that escape hole, I give you a prime example. If you looked at the news last night of what happened, that young man that was at LSU that passed away.
Mm.
So when he was doing what he was doing, when he had that accident with the other person, he probably was on top of the world. But when he was doing what he was doing, that caused the trouble that he got into, it was the machoism that put him there. But it was the bravado, it was the showing off. But when he got put in that rabbit hole, he couldn't get out. Per se, you see, he lost his life yesterday,
Yeah.
and that's what happens. That's just a prime example of what happens when you take that road and you don't know what you're doing when you go down that road. Sometimes that's why I say you got to lower your ego. When you lower your ego, you ain't got no expectation to impress anybody or to please appease anybody else. If if you do everything you can to appease yourself and appease God, you ain't got no wrong turn.
Mm-hmm.
So
I
yeah.
think in both of those cases, that's where that whole self-confidence, self-worth aspect comes in, because then you're labeling
hmm
it based upon what you feel and what you feel compelled that you're able to carry rather than the expectation of someone else. Um,
Correct.
because even still with someone else, they may have been, they may have endured a lot more. So carrying on a bigger load may be something that they're capable. I look at it like no differently than weightlifting, you know,
That's right.
you go in and you hit the gym, the more that you're in there, the more that you expose yourself to certain weights, and you're able to go level by level, level by level. And before you know it, you're in a whole nother weight class in regards
hmm
to what you're able to lift. But if you're not in there on a regular basis and you're not exposing your body to that elements, you can only hold but so much. But it's not fair for someone that's in a higher weight class, that's an experienced more, to hold another male to that same
That's right.
expectation.
Right.
That's the bravado though.
It is.
That's what happens when you enter arenas that you can enter, but you may not be able to do what you can do in that arena. You got to just say, okay, hey, this not my platform, so let me back down to where I can handle what I can, and then maybe later on I can move up to handle this level of competition.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
definitely so. I think with that expectation is expecting women to think and present with a male on a certain level and know that they're just as human as they are with feelings, because women are very we're emotional creatures. That's who we are. It
hmm
comes with the estrogen. If we could have taken it away, it wouldn't have did no good anyway. We probably still would have been emotional anyway. But but still, man to man, sort of putting a word out there that, you know try to take some of the weight off what's put on as far as what the stereotype is of masculine energy and what's expected from a man, because that very
hmm
weight that you're putting on him may be the very thing that may cause that one man to break, whereas you want the woman
It
to,
will.
you know respect and value. You have to also present with the same energy male to male to make sure too that they're only, I'm only man, the same expectation. I'm who I
hmm
am. What ingredients, that's my thing lately, what ingredients that's been instilled in me, you know
hmm
is made me who I am. And so at that place, respect me.
That's right.
Despite it may be a little bit more watered down, less than you, I'm still man, respect me.
That's right.
Were
For
you gonna
sure.
say something, Reginald? I'm sorry.
No, no. I agree with everything that's been said. It's understanding that everyone, and it's almost like it goes back to kindergarten, like everyone has feelings.
Mm-hmm.
and we're not
Hmm.
robots,
That's
right?
right.
So being able to understand when you look in the mirror that, you know, Reggie is flesh and blood and everything else. He's not a robot. Understanding that, and people around me that love me, understanding that helps too. You know, sometimes like we have these stereotypes where the man is the rock hard man. He sits in the lazy boy. He gets the big piece of chicken, and nothing bothers him. He goes outside. He fights off the snake nobody wants to touch. He chases off stray dogs. He goes outside when you hear something. He boards up the house when the hurricane comes. That man is still someone's child. That man is still someone's baby. That man is still flesh and blood. He's still, you know, even stories and anecdotes of war where grown, tough men, soldiers, when they're at their last moment, what are they doing? They're usually crying, yelling for mama.
Hmm.
That's a real thing.
It's a real thing.
Hmm.
It's
You
so
know,
real.
It's primal instincts.
yeah. So
Definitely.
understanding what we are and helping us walk through that, whether you are someone's homeboy, brother, or someone's wife, someone's platonic friend, um, creating a safe space for them to be vulnerable is what's needed too.
Yep.
Because I'm just not going to jump in cannonball style. Like I need to know that the water's fine.
Exactly.
That's right. Because you got certain circles of friends that you can go to. You can talk to them about general stuff, and then you got certain circle of friends that you can go and talk to about intimate stuff. Because if you go talk to the immature crowd about your stuff, their ear is not turned on to help you. Their ear is turned on to turn against you, and they won't even know they're doing it because what
Right?
they're gonna do is go repeat what they said, what you said, or if they're one of the antagonistic type people, they'll throw it back up in your face.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Whereas you got the people you can speak with um an intimate tongue, and they won't utter a word to nobody else. That's between you that person and God.
That's facts. So, as a woman, I do know that there are certain things, even as men, that I define as masculine, as far as, masculinity with a man. But I think there are still other things that not only other men that feel like masculinity is in, like what you said, Damon, the bravado, you know, and then as women, the provider aspect, like just being able
Hmm.
to make sure that they're able to financially, which is still confusing to me because I feel like as a partner to your partner, you should want, I don't think I would want that amount of stress on my partner. I would want my partner to be well balanced because the more well
Hmm.
balanced he is, the well balanced I am. And together as a
Hmm.
household, we're more functional. That's
Hmm.
But what pieces of masculinity do you feel like is overlooked that men do present that they don't get credit for?
So
Or
that's a
are
good
there any?
question.
I'm sorry.
That's a good question.
Oh, I
Yeah,
know.
that's a good one.
Ooh.
Oh, well, I give you an adverse answer to that.
Okay.
Whereas, kind of going back to what I just said, but when you show emotion as a man, there's masculinity in that,
Mm-hmm.
but it's always turned. It's not always. I'm not gonna say always. In today's society, they like to turn it around and use it against them and say, "Oh, you soft." No,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not soft. I'm human,
Exactly.
and those pockets where you show emotion as a man, it may not be even break down crying. It may just be a soft spoken word to where you say how you feel, and somebody will look at it and say, "Oh, you soft for feeling like that."
Yeah.
How? How? I'm human. I'm human. I'm able to have emotion, some type of emotion. If I never did, then you should worry because if I internalize a lot of that, then the toxic masculinity will come out.
Exactly.
So you can't have it both ways.
Mm-mm.
You gotta have balance. So we must learn to be able to express ourselves without repercussions. But there is a fine line in that too, because you still have to show vulnerability, but you don't have to show where you break down. But with that being said, when you are in that state, you have to seek help, because what happens is when you at that last leg and when you're in a vulnerable state and you feel like you have no other way, you need some help by that time, because it's a feeling of where you broken down all walls and you have no other refuge as far as what to do with your feelings, because you got to figure it out, how to work out your feelings in that state.
Mm-hmm.
I think as a woman, to answer my own question, if that's okay,
Yeah.
um, I think every aspect that you described, Damon, is part of the masculinity that's overlooked. And the reason why I say that is it takes a very strong man to know who he is, how he moves, to be okay with being emotionally, mature and available and vulnerable. It takes a
Hmm.
very strong man to know that despite the fact that, if I do cry, that still doesn't make me soft. That's still a masculine trait. Because again, like you said,
Hmm.
um, you're human. You have feelings. If God created you to be masculine with no emotions, then why is it that we all present with it? I think
Right.
people, again, that stereotype of, if you do have this, then you're not masculine. It takes a toll more on our mental health more than anything. A man that can be a safe place, not only for his woman, for his child, to show that soft spot and to know what's coming from a place of love. Love is not, I mean, does it have its ridges? Of course it does.
Hmm.
You can't have one without the other. But that comfort comes in of knowing that it's okay to be soft. It's okay to be compassionate, to be, the physical touch, and
Right.
those are components. Those are components that if you're strong in your masculinity, you know, those are things I feel like people tend to overlook because it's like, oh, you're soft.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Right.
I've heard that. Oh, you're a chump. Like you're letting her. I don't know what word they use, Reginald. you know,
Run you.
Yeah.
all of those things. And if you find, because that's the thing, women, they want that, they want the toughness, but they
Hmm.
also want the softness as well. They want the flowers, they want the time spent, they want all of those are traits that if a man is able to present to me, that's still masculinity because you're comfortable in both places of your life.
Hmm.
And you don't
That's
allow
correct.
the standards of others to dictate, who
That's
you should
right.
be a partner. So that's my response to that. Because that a lot of times people feel like that's not masculine if you do present with those. And that has nothing actually to me, it just means you're stronger, more defined as a man because you can present with that and you don't care what standard people
That's right.
place on you.
True. True.
Masculinity is showing up for your woman, and showing out for your woman.
Mm-hmm.
It's not being name called that you're a wimp or you pushed over. No, that's not it. What you're doing is you're showing a different type of connection.
Hmm.
And some fellas don't understand that because they never seen their daddy love their mama,
Facts.
or they
That
never seen their granddaddy love their grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
So at some point they got to learn how to love on someone from somebody. So why not be the man that shows it? And in our community, we need to show up and show love more, because if we show those examples, then the reflection will keep reflecting. It'll keep getting passed on.
yeah. And that's the whole thing that I know. Not only Damon, you as a father and a leader and a provider, and I know and respect you wholeheartedly. Mr. Reginald, we've worked together for years. on both professional personal platforms where we've reached out to community aspect, giving back and helping. And so that's all three of us together, even though we've come from different places, our goal is all the same, is to change those dynamics so that these patterns that has been inflicted, and I'm not just going to say on the Black community, because there's other communities as well that's suffering.
Correct. That's
But
correct.
of course, I think we can speak from more of a personalized level because we're all African Americans and we know some of the struggles that we face and what we know that tends to deteriorate families and deteriorate us individually, you know, as
right.
as men and women and coming together family unit. So yeah. I know we're coming up at the top of the hour. I've definitely enjoyed this. Of course, we're definitely going to do another segment with, you know, with the woman aspect and their thoughts and feelings. Because I feel honestly at the end of the day that a lot of conflict in a home happens because there's not enough conversation in place to understand both perspectives and what each person needs. And if we can get to a place that you can learn to understand, not to be combative, not to be argumentative, but to get to a place, if even if you don't understand, but you respect your partner's desires and wishes and needs, then hopefully the family has a stronger probability of staying together and
right.
ending a lot of these cycles that has plagued us for so many years.
That's
So,
right.
Thank you. Mr. Wilson and Mr. Fields, if you would, I would love for you guys to close us out today in regards to something that you would give not only to men of our age caliber, but specifically these younger guys, because you know, unfortunately, the weight of the world is on their shoulders with trying to change dynamics to make sure that they didn't repeat the same mistakes that we did. So can you guys close us out with that piece, if you don't mind?
Yeah. You want to go ahead, Reg? I'll let you go.
Sure, sure. Um, you know, first it was my pleasure and honor to be here tonight. I want to encourage the men folk, as the old people would say, that really, really, really are putting one foot in front of the other. But also those that are having a hard time putting that one foot in front of the other. You're special and you deserve love like anyone else. You are not your dad. I want someone to hear that. You are not your father. You are not his mistakes. You are not his shortcomings. And although he hurt your mom, that has nothing to do with you. And someone needs to hear that.
Yeah.
A few million people need to hear that.
I know, right?
And,
A few million hear it.
Right. And you are something worthwhile and you have feelings. You're not a robot, and it's okay for you to show them. We all have emotions and we all have feelings. It's what we do with those emotions and feelings that can get us into trouble. So watch that. But having feelings and having emotions is what it's all about, because you are not a robot. And finding someone that loves you, that realizes that, is what you need as well. So I want to encourage you to be good men. To be good men. Anybody can be nice. Because nice is every now and then, but I want you to be good. That's the difference.
That's right. Thank you for having me this evening. As a man of my age, one of my good hobbies that I like to do is I like to go to the gym at least 3-4 times a week. But what I've noticed as I go to the gym, I encounter a lot of other men my age or older that are really good men of value, men of standards, men of the community, and what I get for them is a reflection of what I strive to be, and uh, I get a reflection of a good role model to pattern myself after. And as I talk to them, I get, insight of their struggles is the same as mine, and mine is the same as theirs. But what I do get from them is wisdom on and guidance on how to navigate.
Mm.
And they're the type of guys that create a safe space to where I can talk to them as a friend and give them a, a intimate conversation to where I feel safe enough to say, "Hey, I'm having trouble with this. Do you know anything about this?" And they're more than accommodating to helping me. And what I would say to the younger generation, seek out some older gentlemen,
Mhm.
and whatever pathway you're looking to go, see if you can find somebody that's in that path of travel down that road. Because 9 times out of 10, they'll give you a blueprint. Now, with that blueprint, it may not be your blueprint, because what happens is everybody's road to success is different, and everybody's level of success is different. With that being said, is you have to take bits and pieces and make what works best for you, because your mold is different from everybody else's mold. And with this younger generation, it's good to find older gentlemen that are about something, to give you guidance, to let you know that it's going to be okay if you stay steadfast and do this and do that. You can achieve this. You can be at this status. Don't make your road hard. Don't make your life hard if you don't have to. Yeah, I just wanted to close out with that.
Thank you so much. Both insightful pieces that Mr. Wilson and Mr. Fields gave. There's nothing need to be said on my part because they said it all. Again, it was their approach to close us out. I would like to say this, that I know as far as on my part, there's been personal things that stagnated us as far as voices of reason. That's been well beyond my control, but I am looking forward to having conversations with individuals such as Mr. Wilson and Mr. Fields, and other um, sources of individuals, either through life experiences or either professional experiences, that would be able to come on and have candid conversations. I am dedicated to hopefully changing and healing family dynamics, the community. And the only way to do that is to have candid conversations. A lot of us did not come from environments where we had the opportunity to learn the right way the first time around. We've had to learn through experiences, and those experiences have been quite painful. So again, I'm asking or hoping that individuals will go and subscribe to us. Of course, Voices of Reason. I do upload um, our viewings on YouTube so that individuals can watch from beginning to end. And I'm hoping that individuals gain something from what not only I've shared, but Mr. Damon, Mr. Wilson, and other guests on my platform that take time out of their schedule to volunteer and give back. Until next time, thank you. And I look forward to other endless conversations again with Mr. Wilson and Mr. Fields. And again, I do appreciate your time. Your time is valuable. So anything that is given to me and to the community in regards to insight to hopefully change a young girl, a young boy, a man or woman, I'm with full gratitude to both of you guys and to my other panel guests that do present. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Again, till next time, guests, if you have not done so yet, follow me on Voices of Reason and also my nonprofit, Chrissy's Place of Refuge. We're looking to do some dynamic things. We're slow, but we're still moving steady. Mr. Wilson, is there anything you want to share in regards to contact information? Because I know that's one thing that's very limited is therapists, especially Black males. So if you can give us that, and of course, after that, we'll close us out and we'll be done.
Yes. You can find me at the Armstrong Center for Hope. That's the Armstrong Center for Hope. My email address is rwilson@armstrongcfh. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. rwilson@armstrongcfh.com. I'm sorry. But if you go to the Armstrong Center for Hope, it's online. You'll see me there, and she's absolutely right. There's not a lot of Black therapists, and certainly not a lot of Black male therapists. So if you need that, hit me up, and we'll see what we can do.
All right. And anyone interested in reaching out to me as far as therapy, if you go on my webpage, you'll catch me on the 3 platforms that I am on. I am on Headway, I am on Grow Therapy, and I'm on Teladoc. And of course, if you want, or you're trying to figure out, like, if it's out of pocket expenses that you're seeking, definitely reach out to me through voicesofreason7@gmail.com, and I'll be able to direct you with that information as well. All right. Thank you, guys. You have a wonderful night, and you enjoy.
Thank
Bye.
you. All right, bye.
All right. Bye-bye.